Good morning, everyone. Hope we're having a wonderful day today. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Chris.
Yes. So we're back again, Inspired Energy, talking more about human design. And today, our topic that we're going to be delving into is the three most common inner authorities. So we're ready to take a bite into this one. So, Hartwell, I've heard you use the term inner authority. And what exactly does that refer to?
What it refers to is human design's awareness that, along with strategy, inner authority is the most important thing for being able to live in this world as yourself. It's a reliable, it's a reliable way of that each unique individual has for ascertaining the truth of what they're how to move through the world.
Mm-hmm. So that's why the tagline today was the voice of truth inside you, because we were talking about
Yes.
the inner authority, which helps you to determine what your truth is and helps you live by that.
Yeah. I mean, it's really quite radical, Chris, what
Mm-hmm.
human design is saying and pointing us to. It's saying
Mm-hmm.
that the mind,
Mm-hmm.
which rules the not self dialogue of the world and so much of our lives, is actually not useful for us to determine the truth about how to live in the world as ourselves.
So,
It's a distraction.
uh, so
It
like
takes us
monkey
away
mind.
from our truth.
That's
Right.
why they call it monkey mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
wow.
exactly. So, what is the benefit of having a personal authority? Like, what kinds of things does it help you with?
It helps us live. It helps us live as ourselves. It helps us
Mhm.
not be, live as a sheep, as an automaton, as as a cookie cutter person. It helps us
Mhm.
grow into our own uniqueness, and it also, if we follow strategy and authority, it keeps us from. It helps us go into the successful very version of our life rather than the not self themes that we've probably brushed upon. The not self
Right.
theme for a generator is frustration, for
Mm-hmm.
projector it's bitterness, for
Mm-hmm.
a manifester it's anger, and for reflectors it's disappointment.
So that helps us know when we're actually walking in our authority and when we're not, is by those not self themes. So when we
Ex-
feel frustrated, when we feel angry, those types of things, we
Correct.
know to look for something.
Yes.
Right. So, what are the three most common forms of inner authority that people have?
The three most common are emotional authority, which arises from a defined solar plexus, sacral authority, and splenic authority.
Can you tell us about the emotional authority?
Yes, emotional authority
Hmm.
is emotional authority is the one we're talking about first, because
Hmm.
anybody with emotional definition is going to have emotional authority. It's the most advanced. So if all three of those centers were defined, it would still be emotional authority that was your inner authority.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
the wave, the solar plexus generates an emotional wave for everyone who has it defined.
Hmm.
There's this movement from being high in the wave, feeling good, and all sorts of emotions that we would label often as good. And there's the low point, which are all the emotions that we would label as bad. And
Hmm.
this wave flows through us unendingly for those who are defined, 53% of the world. Okay.
Hmm.
And so emotional authority means that you wait for emotional clarity. All right.
Hmm.
It's because the wave moves and it moves slowly, you need to understand that clarity, emotional clarity, is how you respond to the world.
So then somebody who has the emotional authority is waiting to feel that emotion before they move. Is that what you mean? Or before they make a decision, or before they actually interact with somebody? Or is that what you
Um,
mean?
Now, this is a good question because it leads us, to help us explore the truth about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's paradoxical because no, emotional authority doesn't mean you make decisions emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
It means the opposite, interestingly, because
Oh.
if you're feeling a strong emotional charge,
Mm-hmm.
then you cannot rely on that.
Okay.
Okay, so the emotional anybody who's emotionally defined cannot they can only know the truth over time.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be willing to wait. You've got to be willing to be patient. So if you're in a very emotional state, that's not the time to make a decision.
Okay.
If you sleep, say, at least one night on important decisions, then you're going to go
Mm-hmm.
through the entirety of the wave, the up and the down, and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to come to this point that feels like a tranquility, a
Mm-hmm.
peacefulness after the fluctuation. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what emotional clarity feels like.
Mm-hmm. So then you've gone through the whole gamut of emotions, and then you've settled on exactly what it is you need to do to make that decision.
Right.
Mhm.
A
Okay.
kind of knowingness, a kind of peace.
Mhm.
And we gotta, it's very hard to even talk about this. At
Mhm.
least for me, it is.
Uh-huh.
I've got emotional authority,
Mhm.
but we live in a world that's dominated by the not self mind. So even to use words that don't bias our conversation from an intellectual standpoint is difficult.
Right.
Like if I use the word figure it out, that implies mental to most people, or at least
Right.
it does to me. And
Mhm.
this is not what the emotional authority is about.
Right. That makes sense. So what happens when we don't listen to our authority?
When we don't listen to it, then we end up having lives that are not in alignment with who we are.
Mhm.
We end up out of sync with ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it it creates the drama and the trauma of the world. We will often default to the not self mind or to the
Right.
authorities outside of us or
Right.
to people pleasing behaviors.
So if we all start listening to our inner authority, we'd have a lot less drama and trauma in the world. That's what I hear
Oh,
you saying.
yeah.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
nice?
And wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be awesome? So
Yeah,
yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the sacral authority now?
sure.
Yeah.
The sacral center, of course, if it's defined, you're a generator. And generators have this built-in gut-based sensation within them. Or you could even
Mhm.
say it a voice. Human design calls it, kind of our gut noises or our sacral noises.
Mhm.
And it speaks in a uh-huh or an uh-uh,
Mhm.
which if you listen to most of the children's of the world, is quite obvious.
Yeah. Okay.
So when this sound sort of naturally erupts out of you, like uh-huh or
Yeah.
or mm. And is I don't know, is
Yeah.
maybe I
Yeah.
don't know. I do, right now I don't know,
Right.
or ask me later.
Yeah.
But the ahas, the yeses and the nos are quite obvious.
Mhm.
And it's built in. That's the thing. Isn't that, I mean, it's so cool that it's built in.
But we don't listen to it, right? Like we just think that we're responding in some manner, but we don't understand to listen to those noises as our inner authority speaking to us,
Hmm.
right?
I
Mhm.
mean, that's exactly,
Yeah.
that's the strategy of a generator is to respond. But now
Mhm.
all you need to do is say the responses that naturally arise from you are important.
Mhm.
And I mean, if I'm not a sacral authority person. I'm an
Mhm.
emotional authority person, but I could even say I'm not a generator. So But if
I
I
know.
were around my generator friends like you, I could start to even watch
Hmm.
for that.
Hmm.
I could even watch, start to watch for your subtle non-vocal responses to respond, that, when I'm in connection with you. And
Hmm.
then I might be able, in a sense, to be more respectful of the way you're operating as well.
So this would be really helpful in like you could use it in families to understand your children better. So if your child was sacrally had sacral authority and they were going, then you would know what their how to handle that situation better when you're dealing with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if
Mhm.
your child uses a real strong or
Yeah.
you could be alert to those things.
Right.
And
That's.
even if you're an adult generator who is, in a sense,
Mhm.
an adult generator with sacral authority who is is no longer as aware of those sounds as you maybe once would have been,
Right.
you can reestablish that connection because
Mhm.
it's not gone. It's not
It's
gone.
just awareness, right?
Mhm.
It's just becoming aware that you're actually doing it instead of it being just a, involuntary response.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like
Yeah.
everything else in life, awareness.
Awareness, yes, it should
Yeah,
be like the first word on all our minds.
exactly.
Um,
So,
but just one point that I may not have made
mhm,
it exactly clear is that um, if your sacral is defined, that is,
mhm.
if you're a generator and the emotional isn't, that's when the sacral is going to be your inner authority.
Okay. So, how are they really different? Like the sacral and the emotional? Like, what is it that makes them so different on a deep level?
One of the things that makes them different is that the sacral or the emotional requires more patience. It really is, the clarity comes over time. It doesn't
Hmm.
come instantaneously, whereas the sacral response is very in the moment.
Hmm.
It's very immediate.
So, you would probably like, so it just arises a question for me. So, when I'm making a decision, like it'll just feel that that's what I should do. Like, and I don't tend to mull it over. It's just like, yeah, okay, let's do it kind of thing. So, what authority would that be that's creating that within me?
Um, this is a good question because
Hmm.
we need to talk with each other about our own experiences,
Hmm.
and link them back to human design and start to feel what this means. I mean,
Right.
you've got emotional authority, which means that
Hmm.
you cannot know the truth in the moment according to human design. And yet
Hmm.
I know you well enough to see that I know you consider yourself somebody who is very decisive,
Hmm.
often, who
Yeah,
knows.
like sometimes I'll just feel it. Like it'll just feel like in my gut
Mhm.
that that's what I should do. There are other times that I don't, but when it's very definite, then that's how I feel.
Well, I would give you a couple of pointers. I mean, remember, you're a generator, so you do have
Mhm.
sacral definition.
Okay.
But because you're emotionally defined, it's not your inner authority.
Oh,
So
okay.
you will have a sacral response.
Mhm.
You could, see your mm-hms
Mhm.
and your uh-uhs. So you will have that as a generator. It's just that if you are also emotional,
Mhm.
then that it would not be the time for you to make a decision. If you're having an emotional charge behind a
Mhm.
decision that you're making, that's not going to be in alignment for you.
Ah, okay. I see. So what are
But I mean, on more minor day-to-day situations, you may
Mhm.
not need to wait that much. You might be
Mhm.
able to listen to your sacral
Mhm.
The thing would be for you to how watch what flows from your decision making.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I made that decision and that's how I did it, and it created frustration. So frustration
Mhm.
would be a sign that you weren't in alignment somehow.
Okay.
But when I made the decision this way, I feel satisfied. I really feel satisfied by that.
So, what are some of the implications for people with different authorities interacting with each other?
Well, the implications are that we will often undermine each other, and we'll often undermine other people's trust in their own authority because we expect them to be like ourselves. We're running out of time, I see, and we haven't talked about splenic authority. Splenic authority is instantaneous. It's based upon survival awareness, which is very quick. And it's a still small voice that operates, and you have to really pay attention to subtle physiological clues in order to be successfully follow splenic authority when you have it.
Right.
So say you're with a splenic authority person, they are going to be, if they don't make decisions quickly, they're not going to be in alignment with themselves. And so the emotionally defined person might see them as reckless or foolhardy or impulsive,
risk taker,
and put all these projections onto them. And they can only do it that way if they're going to be correct. And vice versa. A splenically defined person might dump a lot of projections onto the emotionally defined person and say, you're indecisive, you're wishy-washy, you're weak, you're
so emotional.
And really, in a sense, invalidate for the emotionally defined person the way that works for them. And we do this constantly. This is how we condition each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So wouldn't it be great if we had the understanding in the world that there's more than one way to be, and have some specific understandings about those ways of being, so that if we're with somebody very different from ourselves, we can still respect and love and honor them.
Yeah, you do you, I'll do me kind of thing is what the attitude people have to adopt, right?
Yeah,
exactly. So is there any final words that you have to say about the inner authority before we tune out here?
When I first met Human Design, and I've known about it for quite some time, it took a while for some of this material to sink in. But I would encourage everyone, to find out what your design is, what your strategy and inner authority are, and start to experiment with it. And you will start to find how it lands, and you will, what will start to grow in you is this sense of amazement and wonder about your own particular uniqueness. And, it really does honor and help you develop self-love.
Yeah, I think what word comes to me is acceptance. You accept that this is how you're designed, and then you start to work with that rather than wish you were like somebody else and try to act like them, right? So
yes.
It's a very valuable tool for sure. So thank you, Hartwell, for all of your information today. And we'll just let everybody know you can join us next Wednesday at 9 a.m. again. So next Wednesday, what our discussion will be is the relative strengths of human design and astrology. So that should be an interesting topic since you're a well-versed expert in both of them. I look forward to that conversation. And
me too.
Just watch, guys, for all the new and exciting things coming out. Hartwell is working on workshops and information to put out there, as well as he has a program now that when you have two people and you want to see how you relate together, it will overlay them. I'm not sure what it's called, Hartwell, but it really...
the fancy word from astrology and human design is synastry, which is the study of relationships between people.
Yeah. So if you're interested in doing that for yourself or for members of your family, or, even a business partnership, whatever, we can certainly do that. And you can give the store here a call and book an appointment with Hartwell. And for today, we love you. God bless. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.